Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies.
Hello everyone, a very warm welcome back to all of you in one more impactful session of Learning and Development webinar. My name is Pratibha and I'll be your moderator today. So if at any point you have any question or if you would like to connect with our speaker, please feel free to use the chat box. So let's start with today's session. I hope you're all ready for that. Just allow me a minute to share my screen. Meanwhile, please do let us know from where you guys are watching. We would be happy to know that. So on behalf of the Global Skill Development Council, I'm truly delighted to welcome you all into the GSDC Certified Learning, the Learning and Development Reset, redefining skills, strategies, and business impact for the year ahead, designing future-ready skills that drive impact. And one of the things which make this webinar so interesting is the amazing expert panel we have lined up for you. Some of them have already delivered a very incredible and insightful sessions, and others are all set to bring in more powerful ideas. So for those who have joined with us for the very first time, let me give you a quick introduction who we are. Global Skill Development Council is a globally recognized certification body. We are accredited by ABICB. Till yet, we have a 250,000 professionals certified with us. We are associated with 500-plus subject matter experts. We are also partnered with 100-plus training partners across globe. We are associated with 1,000-plus multinational companies and 50-plus universities worldwide. So these are the training partners who are associated with us from the Asia, Africa, Canada, Australia, Nigeria, Singapore, and many other countries. So special thanks to all training partners for helping us improving our program. And a very special thank you to our media partner, WordPress Hub, for covering all of our press releases and event releases. So before starting the session, I just wanted to make a quick announcement that we have just launched a very unique platform called GSDC AI Studio, Lifelong Learning Initiative. In this GSDC AI Studio, you're going to get 100 plus live monthly sessions with global expert, including 4 daily sessions, 45-minute live expert lead session for hands-on learning, sessions from global expert. Now you can learn directly from our AI leaders around the world. Real-time practice, you can apply concept immediately and get your question answered. Certification ready, you will be getting the training aligned with industry standard for job ready skills. So do you want to know how you can get the benefit of GSDC AI Studio? Well, let me tell you. So there are 3 ways. First, you have a free 14-day access in which you will get 80 plus live session per month and access to full GSDC Studio. Second, you have a GSDC lifelong membership. You will be upgrading to Pro in $109 and you're going to get lifetime access of 80 plus live session per month, access to full GSDC Studio, free GSDC membership, access to physical event, and LinkedIn profile improver. Last but not the least, we have GSDC certification plus lifetime membership. So now participant, this offer is for a very limited time of period. Make sure you're taking the advantage of it because in this you're going to get lifetime access of GSDC certification, all benefits of lifetime membership, personalized coaching, capstone projects plus AI tool, GSDC Copilot and competency assessment tool. All of this you're going to get in $100 only. So what are you waiting for? Take the advantage of this offer and become a part of our GSDC AI Studio. So currently we are covering 100 plus certification in our portfolio, including the learning and development, HR, Gen AI, agentic AI, emerging technologies, ISO lead auditor and implementer, project management and PMO, agile DevOps and SRE, cybersecurity, digital transformation, and many more. But once you get certified with GSDC, you just don't walk away with the certification. You also become a part of our community, which comes with GSDC membership benefits, including lifelong membership, certification upgrade, workshop boot camps, learning club access, also the full benefit of GSDC AI Studio, and many more. So with that, it's time to welcome our today's speaker. Today we have Dr. Anand Wadekar with us. If you are following us from the long time, so you would be aware that Dr. Anand has given one session already with us and it was very impactful and insightful. And today once again he has come on our platform. So let me give you a quick introduction regarding the Dr. Anand. Dr. Anand is a passionate educator and learning leader with 17 plus years of experience across KG to PG education, digital learning, training, and learning and development. He is the founder of the National Forum for Learning, Innovation and Growth, NFLIG, and the initiator of National Learning and Development Day, 24 June. A former founder of and CEO of Discovering Careers India Private Limited, he has led multiple initiatives in career counseling, skillings, and training. He has authored 300 plus articles and addressed 5,000 plus students through workshops and academics forums across India. Dr. Wadekar is a certified learning and development and career counseling professional with expertise in learning strategies, learner engagement, and digital learning solution. But before handing over the virtual mic, just a quick reminder. If you have any query regarding the GSDC AI Studio or GSDC initiative, otherwise if you would like to connect with Dr. Anand regarding any question, any guidance, please feel free to use the chat box. Once again, don't be shy. Drop your reactions, emojis, and quick comment into the chat. That's how we know you're with us, actively listening and absorbing from this insightful session. We also have an announcement to make at the end of today's session, which is a $400 worth gift certification voucher. Additionally, we are starting a Microsoft form. I'll be sharing a link of open form within which you can give your session feedback according to the session learning outcomes and key points you like. So I am hoping you will all drop your feedbacks over there because it will help us to improve our program. With that, it's time to welcome Dr. Anand on our platform. Thank you so much, Dr. Anand, once again coming on our platform. We are very honored to have you as our speaker. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Pratibha. Thank you, GSDC, for this opportunity. Hi, all. Hello, all. We are into different time zones. I'm talking from India, and it's lovely to see you all for this session once again. I'll just share my PPT now. Yes, hope all of you are able to see my presentation.
Yes, Dr. Anand, we are able to see.
Thank you, Pratibha.
Dr. Anand, sorry to interrupt. Prabhakar is
Yeah.
saying audio seems little bit distorted. So can you please adjust your mic?
If you are able to hear me clearly, I think it may be a network problem at his end.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so we are here to actually discuss. I would like to share my experience and inputs regarding the excellent topic chosen by GSDC. And the topic is the strategic role of a chief learning officer in a skills driven organization. So, when we say or when we hear chief learning officer, and the short form is CLO, so definitely it is a CXO level role, CXO level position, just like Chief Financial Officer, Chief Executive Officer for that matter, Chief Human Resource Officer, and now this is Chief Learning Officer. I'm sure that Chief Learning Officer is a very less heard terminology or a role or a designation in the past or in the very near previous future. Therefore, when we say that Chief Learning Officer, we need to interpret it as a very much CXO level role and designation. So, what are we talking about today? So, we'll be just talking about the Chief Learning Officer and exploring the evolving need and strategic responsibilities of the CLO role as such. We'll talk about aligning learning with strategy, how learning initiatives drive business outcomes and organization goals. We'll be seeing the leadership role in building a learning culture where continuous learning thrives at every level, the very base, the very foundation for the chief learning officer role. We'll be also going through measuring business impact, demonstrating return on investment and strategic value through learning matrix. We'll also see some real world case studies where we have lessons from organizations who have successfully implemented the CLO strategy. And lastly, the key takeaways of how we can have the chief learning officer role in our own organizations, what we can do to have it, and elevate the learning strategy as a whole for the organization. So, before we proceed further, as I always do, I love to present the facts the workforce and the CXOs as a whole must accept. The learning landscape, as you all know, has fundamentally transformed. It is not the way we learn things. It is not the way we studied something. It is not the way we build our skills. And today's organizations face unprecedented acceleration, obsoletes, and capability demands. And therefore, these shifts require immediate attention from leadership and workforce, both of them alike. Why? So, what are the facts are actually making a play in today's dynamic organizations? You will agree that today the skill is shrinking. The skill half life, I would say the skill shelf life is shrinking. What does that mean? Skills that once lasted 10 plus years once taken now expire in 2 years or less, demanding constant reinvention and reskilling of the workforce. So it means definitely that the skills which we learned maybe 10 years ago will not be relevant today. Context specific skills. Generic competencies are obsolete now. Skills need to be tailored to specific business contexts. So, learning programs, training programs now should not be generic in nature. Capability based models. Organizations are shifting very fast from role based to capability based skill frameworks. And therefore, as an organization as a whole, capability of the workforce is very, very important to them. Continuous lifelong learning. As I always say, learning is the only constant. We have been hearing a lot that change is the only constant. And with that, today and in the future, it will be learning the only constant. Training will no longer be calendar events. It would be an ongoing journey embedded in daily work. It must be beyond training to capability. The focus has dramatically evolved from delivering training to building actual workforce capabilities. It's not just about delivering a session, delivering a workshop, or delivering an online lecture or an online session to the workforce, making it a very monotonous kind of an activity. Knowledge versus capability gap. The organizations today are tremendously facing this. Though knowledge is abundant and accessible now with technology, true capability remains scarce and valuable. The unlearn, learn, and relearn cycle is very important today. As I already mentioned, that skills acquired few years back may not be relevant today. And therefore, success requires letting go out of outdated practices, acquiring new skills, and continuously adapting. And learning in the workflow is a very, very must today for organizations. The CXOs are not able to allow to give ample of time to the workforce to learn, relearn, or unlearn. And therefore, learning while working is definitely important for them and for the workforce also to create effective learning which happens seamlessly within the flow of work and not separate from it. And as said, these are the facts the workforce and the CXOs must accept when we are talking about creating learning cultures in the organizations and also creating chief learning officer roles for the organizations. What leaders expect from the chief learning officer. So when we propose to the board of directors, to the stakeholders for that matter, that along with the CFO, along with the CHRO, and along with the CEO, the CLO, the chief learning officer role is very important. And then the leaders definitely expect what the CLO will do. And therefore, today's C-suite demands more from learning leadership than ever before. The CLOs must operate as a strategic business partner, is what they expect, who can translate organizational ambitions into tangible workforce capabilities. As I already mentioned previously, learning is not just training, and therefore, the business impact created out of the learning journeys in the organizations, out of the trainings conducted in the organizations, is very important to have that tangible workforce capability to deal with the dynamic changes of the organizations and the business as a whole. So, what leaders expect? They expect that translate strategy into capability. So, they want translation of the strategy into capability, where high level business strategies into specific, measurable workforce competencies that drive execution are done. Leaders expect to reduce time to competence. They need accelerated journey from hiring or role transitions to full productivity and performance from the workforce. They want to build future skills before demand rises, and therefore anticipating market shifts and proactively developing skills before competitive pressure demands them is the need of the hour and in the future as well. Enabling performance and not just learning. Focus on measuring business outcomes and performance improvements and not completion metrics or tick mark training sessions for that matter. And definitely, the bigger role, the future expectations of the leaders would be to prepare for the uncertainty and therefore building organizational agility and resilience to navigate disruption and rapid change is the very need of the hour and the future. And therefore, these are the expectations from the leaders when someone comes up to them and proposes to have a chief learning officer role in the organization. Before we move ahead, just want to give you the evolution of learning leadership. As you all know, the journey from tactical training coordinator to strategic learning executive reflects fundamental shifts. This evolution mirrors the transformation from just an administrative function to a business imperative. We have all seen these kind of designations which we had in our organizations, and they are still today in the organizations we work for. Training department head was the first kind of a role, first kind of a designation which started in organizations way back few years ago. It would just coordinate training programs and manage logistics for that matter. But as the years passed, the training department head transformed into a learning and development manager who actually designed curriculum and oversaw instructional quality so that the workforce whose learning can grasp as much as possible can execute the learnings in their day-to-day work. Through technology, instructional quality definitely improved a lot. And today, we have some excellent instructional designers, instructions quality of learning available in the market and in the organizations also. After the learning and development manager role, it transformed again to become the learning and development head. Generally, we call them as the head of L&D. 95% of the organizations have head of L&D as a role and as a designation, which leads the L&D function as the head with expanded strategic influence, but to a limited way. Now, what we're talking about is the Chief Learning Officer, and you get to see a very few examples where organizations have appointed a Chief Learning Officer, which is above the learning and development head, the learning and development manager for that matter. And this CLO drives the entire enterprise capability strategy at the executive level. And therefore, each of the steps represent not just the title changes which we see, but a fundamental expansion in scope, influence, and strategic impact at an organizational level to impact the organization's success. And then you have the rise of the Chief Learning Officer. The emergence of the Chief Learning Officer role signals a very fundamental shift in how organizations compete today. In an era where capability determines market position, learning leadership has moved from support function to strategic necessity. Organizations investing in CLO level leadership report faster adaptation to market changes, higher employee engagement, and stronger competitive positioning in talent acquisition. So, as we spoke about the levels, the titles of the training department head, the learning and development manager, the learning and development head, and the CLO, organizations today, the CXOs today, and the board of directors as a whole are definitely realizing the need of having a chief learning officer, just as we have a CFO, CEO, and CHRO. What is the need of a chief learning officer today as per the organizations today? The traditional learning function is inadequate for today's business environment, is what they feel. Organizations require strategic leadership who can navigate complexity and drive capability at enterprise scale. So, learning or training is now not limited to a particular department, particular process, particular task, or for that matter, a very minute level or a middle level department. And therefore, skill based organizations, which we are talking about, that's the fundamental change which has happened in the industry. Industry has fundamentally shifted from job based structures to dynamic skill based models where capabilities define value. Now, there is a roles over designations importance, where job roles and their designations are differently kept. So, job roles and their required competency now matter more than traditional hierarchical titles. And as already mentioned, there is a decline of the skill half life. The useful lifespan of skills continue to compress dramatically, requiring constant renewal, constant learning. AI workplace integration, artificial intelligence, as all you know, and as all you have experienced it by now, is reshaping the work we do and therefore demanding new human AI collaboration capabilities is the need of today. And as mentioned, from delivery to impact, learning, training will not be only limited to delivery of a training session, but the focus has evolved from training delivery metrics to measurable business impacts, capability as constraint. In modern enterprises, workforce capability, not capital, has become the primary growth constraint. And therefore, I would like to say that in a skills driven economy, learning is no longer an event or as a compliance calendar activity. It is the strategy. Skills driven organizations need strategic learning leadership, and therefore, the need for a chief learning officer has emerged very much today. And organizations, fortunately, are realizing this, and therefore, they are definitely changing their mindsets from having a just department training head to the chief learning officer who will sit by their side and actually define, know, and execute the entire learning journey for the workforce, which will actually build the business impact for the organizations. Just would like to give you a comparison of the CLO versus the head of L&D. As I mentioned at the start, we might not have heard the CLO role or CLO designations much in the organizations today. And, and therefore, this creates a little bit of a confusion or a little bit of ambiguity when we need to understand the difference between what a CLO would do and what an head of learning and development would do. So, therefore, understanding the distinction between traditional learning and development leadership and the strategic CLO role is essential for organizations seeking competitive advantage through workforce capability. In front of your screens, I have shown a table of comparison between the head of L&D, which is a traditional role, and the chief learning officer, which is a strategic role. And at the left hand side, I have mentioned the dimensions through which we can know how they actually differ. Of all those dimensions, like primary orientation, core questions asked, time horizon, ownership, business alignment, the matrix used, stakeholder interface, role in the strategy, position in organization structure, view of learning, credibility source. And when you have this in front of you, you can definitely see the red highlighted points where the core question asked, the matrix used, and view of learning are are a very distinct comparison where the head of L&D would ask what programs should we run, and the CLO would ask what capabilities does the business need. The head of learning would concentrate on metrics like completion rates, feedback from the learners, and hours spent into that learning or a training session. But a CLO would tell you the performance impact, the productivity, and the return on investment. And the third highlighted point I would like to stress on would that the head of L&D would design learning programs as an event. However, the CLO would actually see to it that the learning would be continuous and embedded in the work. And therefore, the head of L&D manages learning activities, whereas the CLO governs the organizational capability, which actually makes the stakeholders very happy because that is what they want ultimately at the end of the day. Hope this comparison is clear to you because it is very important for us to understand where actually the chief learning officer role takes a step higher than the head of L&D. And when we say that, the CLO role is definitely non-negotiable because the future is ultimately learning and not a training limited to a particular task or limited to a particular group of workforce or limited to a particular department. Today, learning is becoming continuous and not episodic. It is an ongoing journey rather than isolated events. Learning has become embedded in work and not separate. Learning has become AI augmented and not just instructor dependent because enhanced by technology while maintaining human connection. And yes, learning is becoming self driven and not an HR driven activity. Why? Because it is being owned by learners and enabled by the organizations for those learners, which are the workforce ultimately. Future focused CLO capabilities would require the combination of AI plus learning integration and therefore leveraging artificial intelligence to personalize and scale learning experience is the future of learning. Personalized learning journeys designed to adaptive pathways tailored to individual needs and goals is the future of learning today. Skills marketplaces, creating internal talent mobility is very important through transparent skill matching. And lastly, the human centered growth, prioritizing employee development as a core driver of organizational success would be the future of learning. So, when we say that learning is becoming all this and the future of learning are all these aspects, it definitely presses, stresses the very need that the CLO is a non negotiable role, non negotiable designation in the skill based organizations today. And that definitely lands up why the CLO must have a seat on the board of directors. Why? Because boards discuss growth, mergers and acquisitions, digital transformations, risk, uncertainty, and whatnot. And having a CLO, an ingredient into that board, is very, very important. How? So, just I have put a comparison. What would happen if the CLO would not be on the board? And what would happen if the CLO would be on the board? So, without CLO on the board, strategy is designed would be designed without capability reality. With CLO on the board, it would have early visibility into future capability needs. Without the CLO, the workforce transformation would be very reactive. However, with the CLO on the board, it would be proactive workforce planning. Without the CLO, the learning would become just a tactical firefighting. But with the CLO on the board, it would be a faster strategic execution, giving the required business impact. As I've mentioned, if the CFO represents the money, And the CTO, that is the Chief Technology Officer, represent technology. The CLO must represent the organization's ability to execute. And when can the organizations have that ability to execute? When their workforce is skilled enough, is learned enough, is adaptable enough, is agile enough to actually deal with the business risks, the business uncertainties, and the demand of the business impact. And therefore, the CLO's board presence would ensure learning strategy is woven into every major business decision from the outset, not bolted on afterward. This integration is the difference between organizations that adapt and those that struggle to keep pace. Now let us come at to improving business impact through learnings. All you might agree, and definitely I feel that there is a gap today in the industry and the organizations which we face day in, day out, especially we, the learning and development professionals, dealing with workforce, dealing with the CXOs, and when we are reporting to the managing directors, the CXOs of the organizations, that they are very, very wanting to, to have the learning, training translated into a business impact. And therefore, improving business impact through learning would be a very strategic key role of the chief learning officer. Ultimately, start measuring what matters, time to competence, as we always say, how quickly employees reach full productivity is what the CXOs require. The productivity uplift, measurable performance improvements post training is where the learning professionals are still struggling today. Why? Because they are not able to translate, to transform, to capture, to measure the training which they have given, the learning which they have given into the business impact matrix. Quality improvement, reduced errors, and enhanced output standards is what measurement would be through learning. Revenue enablement, definitely. Direct contribution to the top line growth is ultimately the aim, sorry, for an organization. And yes, the risk mitigation. Mitigating compliance and operational risks would definitely be required to be measured, and definitely that would be what matters the most for the CXOs. And therefore, the language of CLO, that is the Chief Learning Officer, needs to change. The language used by department heads, the language used by training department heads for that matter, the head of L&D would not be the same to be used by the CLO. The CLO's new language would be some of these, like return on capability instead of just return on investment, where measuring skill deployment and not just completion rates would matter. Not just engagement, but performance enablement, where focusing on business results and not just participation satisfaction. And from programs to business interventions, solving real challenges and not just delivering content. These are the new language which the chief learning officer would need to say. And therefore, what would it do? It definitely would, the CLO's credibility would be earned not in classrooms, but in business review meetings, where the CLO would be able to actually give tangible business impact of entire learning, entire training, which is happening in the organization. And therefore, aligning learning to business strategy would be the primary, the basic, the fundamental aim of the Chief Learning Officer. The modern CLO must be an architect for strategic alignment model that connects learning investments directly to business impact. This framework ensures every learning intervention drives measurable capability development. And therefore, dear listeners, aligning learning to business strategy to business impact would be the only criteria when the CXOs select a person for the Chief Learning Officer role for that matter. And why? Because business strategy, which has growth objectives, cost optimization, innovation priorities, and customer experience excellence. It would have capability requirements, aligning, defining what people must be able to do to execute the business strategy successfully, aligning the skills architecture where technical competencies, behavioral capabilities, leadership development, and digital fluency would be very important. And yes, the learning invention interventions, which would not be just courses, programs, or sessions, but strategic solutions designed to close capability gaps and drive performance. Therefore, dear listeners, you might have now observed that there is a fundamental transformation which is happening at the CXO's level, where they are actually looking forward to the chief learning officer in their organization to help them and contribute in those business strategies, capability requirements, skilling architectures, and learning interventions which actually make things work for the growth of the organization. And yes, as we already spoke about, when you go to the stakeholders, when you go to the board of directors and promote or propose that a chief learning officer role is very much required, definitely this also mentions that the role of leadership in promoting a learning culture is the base of how things formalize ultimately. And therefore, transforming learning from just a support function to a strategic business imperative requires intentional leadership commitment and organizational positioning. I remember when I used to speak to the stakeholders, to the board of directors for that matter, definitely this was a very important factor which I used to hear from them that they definitely would require a learning culture in the organization, but how to do it, they were unaware of. Or maybe they were having a separate perspective, a different perspective of looking at learning, looking at training from a very different way. And therefore, the role of leadership in promoting a learning culture is very important. If it is not done, the chief learning officer's role would not be a complete success. And therefore, elevate the learning and development to strategic status. The leadership needs to shift the identity from a training department to a strategic learning business function and secure a seat at the executive level table where learning and development has a voice in critical business decisions and not after something has happened and what is required to be done. It would be connecting learning to the vision. Therefore, the leadership must actively communicate how learning enables employees to contribute to organizational vision, goals, and success parameters. creating a clear line of sight from development to impact. Position learning and development as strategic advisors. The head of L&D and team should be recognized as the go-to person for career guidance, learning pathways, training solutions, and continuous skilling initiatives. And yes, fostering human-centric leadership, enabling coaching cultures instead of just command and control environments. Managers must actively promote and motivate learners, that is the workforce, their teams, making development a core leadership responsibility. Let us have these real cases where we get to see how the CLO is driving business impact. The first happened in 1990s in GE, which we call as the pioneering the CLO role. Jack Welch, the CEO of General Electric, made Steve Kerr the company's first CLO, establishing the role as a critical executive function. Kerr later became CLO and managing director for Goldman Sachs, demonstrating the strategic value of the position. In 2022, Ramona Arora was given the CLO of the Year award, honoring her for implementing innovative learning initiatives where the CLO would be accountable for shaping a culture that embraces continuous growth, resilience, and adaptability. In 2023, Michelle Braden was also given the CLO of the Year award, recognizing for outstanding contributions to employee development and learning management, showcasing excellence in creating strategic learning ecosystems that drive organizational performance. And we have another case where it was Abhijit Bhaduri, who was the ex-CLO for Wipro, and he told a statement that when I became the first chief learning officer at Wipro, the job title was not so common. It was a chance to write my own job description. This pioneering spirit continues to shape how organizations view learning and learning leadership. And when Abhijit Bhaduri says that he had a chance to write the job description of a chief learning officer, that definitely shows us that having a CLO was never seen in organizations. And still today, also, it is very, very rare that you find a CLO position in an organization. And therefore, when the position is rare, the job description for the CLO is also not defined, not rigid, and not very much made of previously. The CLO role would succeed and sustain only when it would have relevance and timeline, where learning interventions would address current workforce needs and align with real-time business challenges to drive immediate value. It would have demonstrable business impact. Employees would need to see and understand how the learning creates tangible business outcomes. Investment and not expense. The learning must be treated as a part of the business engine that drives competitive advantage and not a discretionary cost center for the stakeholders. And future of work prediction, which is very, very important in the future and today, where we are not able to predict what would be the future, but definitely the CLO would be very much equipped to think, to give a thought, to think deeply analyze, and research of the future of work, where the CLO function would much anticipate emerging skill requirements and prepare the organization for evolving business landscapes. And ultimately, it would be the DNA level integration which would be required in the organization, where learning would become sustainable when it's woven into the fabric of how the business operates, and not just as a separate initiative, but a very core capability. That was it, dear listeners, from me for today, as far as the discussing of the Chief Learning Officer's role, though rare today, but definitely as we see in the years ahead, I'm sure organizations, be it small, be it mid-sized, be it big, scalable organizations, the chief learning and learning officer role would be seen as a strategic business function and not just as a support function. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anand, for the amazing and impactful session. I'm sure our participants have learned a lot. So the participant floor is officially open for question and answer. If you have any question, please feel free to use the chat box. So Dr. Anand, we have first question from Prabhakar. Do we have data which says MNCs with CLO is performing better than the ones which doesn't? Any views on that?
That's a very good question, Prabhakar. But as I mentioned, that it's very rare today, as of today, to see us to see the chief learning officer role in organizations. And therefore, when we say it would be rare, and therefore it would also impact that the performance or measuring the effectiveness of the chief learning officer is not available as a data in the market today. But however, as I presented in my slides, coming years you'll definitely see the chief learning officer role in organizations. Why? Because the leadership believes that yes, the CLO role is a must in an organization.
Thank you so much for the amazing and insightful answer. So the next question we have one of the participant of YouTube. In organizations where multiple learning programs run in parallel, how can the CLO avoid fragmentation and ensure a unfilled skill strategies across team?
Okay, so I would like to answer that when a chief learning officer, or for that matter, the head of L&D, designs learning programs, definitely it should be harmonious with what the workforce requires, what the business requires, and this amalgamation of workforce requirement and the business requirement is very much necessary for this. And when the head of learning and development, for that matter, would actually design a program, it would give the learners the know how, the awareness of what it would do for the business ultimately. And when the workforce knows this, the results are definitely positive to come.
Thank you so much for the detailed and thoughtful answer. So the next question we have, what are the most common mistake organizations make when shifting from traditional training models to a true skill-based learning ecosystem, and how can a CLO prevent them?
Okay. So generally what happens is, you all know that a yearly budget is decided by the CXOs for for the next financial year. And when they decide the budget based on just the training interventions, as far as maybe a small area of development, a small area of department level skill building, which is required that time. But as I already said, the leadership support is very much required here. And therefore, when a yearly budget is decided as a whole, the leadership should also support the budget for the learning interventions where it's not just a training session to be conducted, but ultimately a learning pathway, a learning journey for the workforce, which actually helps build them the business impact which they are expecting.
Thank you so much for the great answer, Dr. Anand. So the participant, as we are running out of the time, so will not be able to take more question. I really apologize for that. But I have shared Dr. Anand's LinkedIn ID into the chat box so that you don't miss out. Please do connect with him for any query and guidance. I'm sure Dr. Anand would be happy to help you out. Right, Dr. Anand?
Absolutely, Pratibha. Thank you so much, listeners, for having been patient for an hour. But it was lovely talking to you all and presenting the experience which I have taken over for all these 17, 18 years. Thank you so much, GSDC.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anand. It was lovely to having you over. I'm looking forward to having in the future sessions as well. So, moving forward, let me quickly wrap up the session to not taking your more time and the audience more time. So, just allow me a minute to share my screen. So, if you are ready for getting certification into the learning and development, the certifications now available on our website. So we are also giving a complimentary coupon code to all of our participants, which will give you a 20% off for opting this certification. So if you are ready to get certified into the learning and development, please check out our website, use the coupon code link because the offer is for a very limited time of period. So make sure you're taking the advantage of this coupon code offer and get 20% off, get certified to the learning and development. So before wrapping up the session, I just wanted to make a quick announcement regarding utility tool. So since the time I have started introducing utility tool, like it's been a long time if you guys are following our session, and I've already started receiving a lot of positive response from the from the participant who were on their job hunting journey, how this tool helped them. So what you can do, you can log in into utility tool by using your LinkedIn ID and password, and it will give you a recommendation according to the job designation you're targeting and the industry you're targeting, and it will re-improvise your LinkedIn profile. So if you're on your job hunting journey, utility tool is for you. We For making your job hunting journey even more easier, we are giving a complimentary coupon code to all of our participants, which will give you 100% off. I have shared the coupon code link into the chat box so that you don't miss out. So take the help of utility tool and make your job hunting journey easier. Make your resume stand out in front of the HRs and recruiters. And all the best to all of the job hunters out there. So, as today we had a very amazing and insightful session, impactful session with Dr. Anand, we are going to have one more impactful session tomorrow with Charity McDonald. Charity McDonald is going to lead the session on AI powered learning programs, how AI in transformation training and development in the workforce work into the learning and development department. And the session will be at the same time tomorrow at 4th February at 9:30 a.m. Central, 11:30 p.m. Singapore, 9 p.m. Indian, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. So I'm hoping to see you all tomorrow as well. And if you are an ISO enthusiastic people, I would strongly recommend you this webinar because we have added a lot of new modules and new trends for you. And this webinar is going to be conducted from 2nd Feb to 6th Feb at 8:30 a.m. Central, 10:30 p.m. Singapore, 8 p.m. Indian, and 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And if you're one of those people who enjoys to learn regarding new AI technologies, then this webinar is for you. Because in must know AI strategies, we are going to let you know learning from automation to autonomous intelligence in business. And this is going to be conducted from 2nd Feb to 6th Feb at 7:30 a.m. Central, 9:30 p.m. Singapore, 7 p.m. Indian, and 8:30 a.m. Eastern. With that, it's time to celebrate our referral champions. So we have Bhanu Durgesh, we have Olubaga, and we have B. Venkatesh with us. So thank you so much to all three of you for helping us simplify our initiative and reach it to the wider global audience. So if you would like to be, you can also become one of our knowledge professionals and advisors. What you have to do, if any of your peers, colleagues, and professionals wants to join for this webinar or any of the webinar, please refer them the registration link which you will find on our GSDC website. And every referral will earn your points. So once you hit a 50 referral point, you will be able to get a free $400 worth gift certification voucher. So this offer is also for a very limited time of period. Make sure you're taking the advantage of it. So what are you waiting for? Take the referral and become one of our knowledge professional and advisors. And if you would like to be one of our speaker for our learning capsules, for our webinars, for our podcast, we would be happy to have you over here. So you can reach out to us at pratibha@gsdccouncil.org and Pritham @gsdccouncil.org. I have shared the email ID into the chat box so that you don't miss out. Do reach out on this email ID if you would like to be one of our speaker. And these are the platform where you guys can connect with us for our upcoming events and trends on our LinkedIn, on our website, on our WhatsApp group, where we do share daily basis updates and trends and timing and topics and everything regarding the events. So do connect with us with all of the platform for staying updated. We would also love to hear your session key takeaways and learning outcomes. So you can drop your suggestions and feedbacks on reviews.io as well. And as I told you at the starting of today's session, we have also started Microsoft Form where you can personally drop your feedback regarding this session only. And if you would like to any suggestions regarding GSTC initiative, we would love to hear that as well. All the feedback will be anonymous, so you don't have to worry regarding your identity. But if you we would love to hear your feedbacks over there. I have shared the form link once before, but I'm sharing it once again so that you don't miss out. So, with that, it's time to come to an end. Thank you so much, Dr. Anand, once again for coming on our platform. Looking forward to having you in the future session as well. And thank you so much to all of the participants for joining into our learning journey. It was very great to have you all today. Looking forward to have you tomorrow as well. Till then, keep learning, keep energizing. Have a good day, good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are.